Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to another Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'm going to be covering top lane Teemo, the Swift Scout, in Season 7.
Never underestimate the power of the Scout's code.
So why exactly would you want to pick Teemo top? Well, he's a big-time lane bully that's a very solid counter pick to a lot of the top laners out there. He also brings some very good map control, and ganking his lane is pretty impossible if you do set up your shrooms properly. Whenever you're going for a Dragon or Baron, you can toss a bunch of shrooms around the area as well, and it'll be very hard for the enemy to move in. In this guide, we're going to be going for a Frozen Mallet and an on-hit build, so it's very easy to kite on Teemo with that Mallet. Of course then, with your E ability and all the attack speed you'll have, it's incredibly easy to CS as well. Teemo, however, is a very squishy champion early on, and you do need some solid skill in kiting, poking, and zoning to be pretty effective on Teemo. You need to be keeping your range so you're not taking damage and doing damage at the same time. Since you're a very squishy champion and you have no built-in flash ability, high crowd control champions are going to be very hard for you to deal with. You're going to have to be very careful in team fights because one point and click CC ability can easily get you killed. For this build, you'll want to go 18 Ferocity and 12 Resolve, grabbing Fervor of Battle as your keystone mastery. It's going to add a ton of damage because of all the attack speed on your items, and when you combine it with all that on-hit damage as well, Teemo's going to be a pretty damn high damage champion. For the rest of your masteries, you pretty much just want to focus on getting as much damage as possible on the Ferocity side, and a bit of increased tankiness on the Resolve side. If you were going for a traditional AP build on Teemo, then you would of course want to go for Thunderlord's Decree. For your runes, you'll want to go either Magic Penetration or Attack Damage Reds, Armor Yellows, Magic Resist Blues, and Attack Speed Quints. If you struggle at last hitting, I would take the Attack Damage Reds, but usually I'll go for Magic Penetration Reds instead. The Magic Penetration works great when you combine it with the Armor Penetration we have from our Masteries. No matter which way the enemy champion builds, we're going to be doing some pretty good damage. We then of course take the attack speed for better trades and last hitting, and the armor and the magic resist to increase our tankiness. For your summoner spells, you have a couple different options, but you'll always want to take flash. You're a very squishy champion, and since you don't have a reliable escape, it can save your life and finish off low enemies. For your second summoner spell, Ignite is the first one you should consider. It'll add some nice extra kill pressure in the lane, and it has the potential to get you snowballing with all the damage and harassment you already deal. If you instead want to be more of a split pusher, then you can always pick up Teleport. It's also great for the map pressure it provides because you can always join a team fight or an objective whenever it is off cooldown. Lastly, you could also take Exhaust if you are against a very mobile champion that can all-in you with rather high damage, something like a Yasuo. Your passive is Guerrilla Warfare, and it's pretty decent for setting up ambushes. Teemo gains invisibility if he stands still for 1.5 seconds without acting or being acted upon. He will remain stealth as long as he doesn't move, act, or is displaced. If within a brush, Teemo gains stealth after 0.75 seconds even while moving and may move freely within its boundaries without breaking stealth. When Teemo breaks stealth, he gains the element of surprise for 3 seconds, gaining between 20 and 80 bonus attack speed. So this is a pretty decent passive because you can catch people off guard, and with that bonus attack speed, you can bring them down pretty quickly. If you're split pushing and trying to bring down a tower, if it is worth it, you can go into stealth, get that bonus attack speed, and bring it down just a bit quicker. If you're far ahead, then you can go into the enemy jungle, sit stealth in brushes, and when they do go for their jungle camps, kill them inside their own jungle. Your Q ability is Blinding Dart, and it does what the name would suggest. It's a blind, and it's a dart. When activated, Teemo shoots a dart at the target enemy, dealing them magic damage and blinding them for a short duration. The blind duration scales, and it is a relatively strong ability, but it is an AP ratio, and with this build, we're not going to have a ton of AP. It is, however, a really strong ability because if the enemy champion jumps on top of you and they are auto-attack reliant, they're going to do no damage for up to 2.5 seconds if this is maxed out. We do, however, make much better use of our E and W ability, so this is the ability we're going to have to max last, but we do definitely want one early point in it, so we can blind somebody when they get on top of us. Your W ability is Move Quick, and it gives you some really nice movement speed, which is great for chasing and escaping. Passively, Teemo gains bonus movement speed if he hasn't taken damage from enemy champions or turrets for 5 seconds. When activated, Teemo doubles his bonus movement speed for 3 seconds and prevents it from being disabled by damage. So in short, this ability is just simply fantastic because it really increases your chances of kiting your target effectively. This already works passively, which is fantastic, but if you need that extra bonus movement speed, then it is great to activate so you can kite even easier. Of course, this is also great for roaming and making it to team fights and objectives if you don't have teleport available. We'll want to max this ability second because of its great kiting and roaming. Your E is Toxic Shot, and this is your bread and butter ability, which is great for harassing and last hitting. Passively, Teemo's basic attacks deal bonus magic damage and poison his target, causing them to deal additional magic damage over 4 seconds. Subsequent attacks refresh the poison's duration. So this ability, first of all, is going to make your last hitting a lot easier because you're going to have that bonus on-hit magic damage, making the minions take even more damage than usual. This ability is also why I like to go for magic penetration reds, just to make it do even more damage. It's also a big part of why an on-hit build works so effectively on Teemo, because we already have one on-hit built into him. When you combine it with a bunch of on-hit damage items, it's pretty absurd damage. Since we gain 10 bonus on-hit damage every time we put a point into the ability, we want to max it first and really start abusing the enemy champion with it. There's a very limited number of champions that can deal with the auto attack spam from a Teemo. Your ultimate is Noxious Trap, and it's one of the main reasons everybody hates facing a Teemo. Passively, you gain a charge every 30 to 20 seconds, and you can hold up to 3 at one time. When activated, Teemo tosses a mushroom trap on the ground which stealths and arms after 1 second, lasting up to 5 minutes. While armed, mushrooms gain sight around them, and shrooms thrown on top of each other will bounce on previous ones a short distance before planting. If an enemy steps on a mushroom, it detonates, poisoning all nearby enemies, slowing them, granting sight of them, and dealing magic damage over 4 seconds. So this ability isn't as strong on an on-hit Teemo as it is on an AP Teemo because it's not going to do a ton of damage. However, the slow is still really strong. If somebody steps on a mushroom and then you hit them with your frozen mallet with all your movement speed from your W, there's no way in hell that champion is going to escape. In the lane phase, you want to drop these all over the brush and river so nobody can gank you. Whenever you're going for an objective with your team, make sure you drop these around the area so if anybody comes in to try to seal it or engage, they will be slowed and take a bunch of damage. For your skill order, you'll first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then you'll want to focus on maxing your E ability because it does some really nice on-hit damage and works perfectly with our on-hit build. You'll then want to focus on maxing your W because kiting is extremely important on Teemo and we don't have the ability power to make maxing our Q a viable thing for our second choice. We still, however, want to make sure we get one early point into our Q at level 3 so we can actually blind somebody when they do jump onto us. In most matchups, you want to be pretty damn aggressive during the lane phase. You're a really strong lane bully and there's not many champions that can deal with the added damage from your toxic shot early on. If the champion you're against is a strong auto attack based champion, then you'll want to make sure you hold on to Blinding Dart for whenever they engage onto you for effective trades. If you use it too early on before they actually go for damage, then you could actually end up losing that trade. Lastly, you'll want to use your Noxious Trap to give yourself a safe lane. Place them in the river and brushes so when the jungler comes to gank, they'll be slowed and revealed. In teamfights, you're going to want to play like you're an AD carry. You're a fairly squishy ranged champion who relies on auto-attacking, so do what an AD carry does and focus on what you're able to hit. Do not move too far forward or you're just going to get crowd controlled and die instantly. When someone gets on top of you or one of your other carries, use Blinding Dart on them as long as they're somewhat auto-attack reliant to greatly reduce their damage so hopefully you or a teammate can survive or kite away. Other than that, you're pretty much just auto-attacking while also dropping shrooms around your team when possible, and lure them into those shrooms if you are getting chased. Now let's look at a couple hard matchups, and first up here is Fizz. If Fizz is level 6, he has an absolutely insane amount of kill potential on you if he does land his shark, so make sure you dodge it at all costs. You'll also want to use your Blinding Dart for when he engages onto you, because if he uses his Playful and Trickster to dodge it, he's going to all-in you, and there's not much you can do about it. Try to keep at range as much as you can, and spam him down with auto attacks. Next here we have Alawi, who is able to close a gap on you with her W ability, so make sure you stay at a long enough range and blind her if she does go for it. Then of course you want to kill her tentacles whenever you can. You are a ranged champion so it shouldn't be too hard, but be very careful because she's going to try to bait you into them and land her E ability. Other than that, you basically just have to dodge tentacles whenever you need to, run out of your ultimate with your W when you need to, and poke her down with your autos. Next here we have Malphite, who's a really tanky champion that doesn't have to auto-attack you too often because he does a lot of his damage with his Q and E ability. When he does get on top of you and activates his W ability though, this is when you're going to want to blind him. Other than that, just try to poke him down as much as you can and keep in mind his passive shield will easily win him trades, so don't let him get it. Lastly, be very careful of his ultimate because it does a lot of damage when combined with his Q and E ability, and he can almost 100 to 0 you with it. Last here we have the bane of all top laners, including Teemo, Pantheon. The reason Pantheon is so hard for Teemo is because of his constant damage from his spears and the fact that he doesn't rely on auto attacks too much. The majority of his damage comes from his Q and his E ability. Against Pantheon, try to auto attack him down as much as possible, but winning trades against Pantheon is pretty damn hard. Alright, now for our item build, which starts with either a Doran's Ring health potions and a warding totem, or a corrupting potion and a warding totem. Both are very solid starts, but Doran's Ring is the normal, but if you do need some extra sustain, go for the corrupting. For our core build, we have the Nashor's Tooth, Frozen Mallet, and a Runaan's Hurricane. The Gnasher's Tooth will give us some nice attack speed, on-hit damage, and ability power, which works great with our E ability. Frozen Mallet will make kiting and chasing an absolute breeze, and Runaan's Hurricane is just straight up amazing on Teemo. It does some really nice damage and spreads your auto attacks. For your viable alternatives, you could always get a Hextech Gunblade or a Wit's End first instead of the Gnasher's Tooth. If you want to be more of an assassin, then you'll want to go for Hextech Gunblade. If you're against a hard AP matchup, then get the Wit's End. It's really nice for that magic resist it also has on the item. For your boot options, you have a lot of good ones. The Boots of Swiftness for all-around mobility, Berserker Greaves for auto attack speed, Sork Shoes for some magic penetration, Merc Treads against high AP and CC teams, and Ninja Tabbies against high AD teams if you want to block some extra damage from autos. If you went for the normal core build, then the Hextech Gunblade and Wit's End would still be very viable options. I do, however, prefer the Blade of the Ruined King over a Hextech Gunblade. It'll add some really nice on-hit damage on Teemo and give you some much-needed lifesteal. Since you do a nice mix of attack damage and magic damage, you could always get a Ginsu's as well. This will give you some nice AD, magic damage, attack speed, and has a really strong stacking effect. Since we're very attack speed reliant, you could always get a Phantom Dancer as well, which would bring your crit to 60% and could really increase your damage a lot. Now, although we're not an AP build, Liandry's is still really solid on Teemo and can add a nice burn onto your shrooms. You still also have a really nice amount of magic damage, so a Void Staff is a great way to get through a lot of magic resist as well if the enemy is stacking it. For my example full build though, I take that core build, add some Berserker Greaves, then a Wit's End, and a Blade of the Ruined King. You're going to have a ton of on-hit damage and attack speed, which is going to make your damage go through the roof, and you're even going to have the Frozen Mallet to keep on targets and kite very easily. Of course, this is just one viable build on Teemo. You could always go for a full AP build as well and still easily carry games. This is, however, my favorite build on Teemo, and if you're against a very immobile team, you can pretty much kite them for days. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for top lane Teemo in Season 7. Don't forget to check out the video description below for a link to all my social medias, and I do also stream every day but Tuesday on Twitch now, so make sure you head over there and check that one out. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching the video. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.